Mayor and Council meeting for Monday, February 1st. In response to State of Connecticut Executive Order Number 7B, Protection of Public Health and Safety During COVID-19 Pandemic and Response, further suspension or modification of statutes dated March 14th, 2020, suspending in-person open meeting requirements. All public meeting requirements will be closed to the public at this time. Public meeting will be available on Zoom. So the first item on the agenda is roll call. Clerk Patrick, would you please call the roll?
Present are Mayor Keith Hedrick, Deputy Mayor Guinevere Depot, Councilors Lisa McCabe, Reginald Stanford, Stephen Sheffield, Rashad Carter, Finance Director Ron Uhas, City Clerk Deborah Patrick, excused is Councilor Minerva Ortiz.
Okay, the next item is salute to the flag. So please, let's say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United
States of America
and
to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Recognitions, awards, and memorials, Council. Okay. Receipt of citizens' petitions. Receipt of citizens' petition is a portion of the council meeting where the council welcomes comments from citizens. To address the council, please join in via Zoom. Clearly state your name and address. Each presentation should be limited to 5 minutes or less, and citizens should, if possible, submit emailed or written comments. Presentations should be related to matters pertinent to the city of Groton. City councilors will only ask questions in order to clarify the speaker's presentation and can respond during the responses to citizens' petition portion of the meeting. Jill, do we have anyone in the waiting room?
We do not.
Okay, in that case, I will move on and we will skip past response to citizens' petitions comments. Next item is approval of the minutes. I need a motion to approve of January 19th, 2021 Mayor and Council meeting minutes.
So moved.
Who did I have that with? I think that was moved by Stanford and seconded by McCabe. All right, are there any corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, abstention, motion carries. I also need a motion for the January 25th, 2021 Committee of the Whole meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
So moved Stanford, seconded by McCabe. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Okay, thank you. Communications and reports, Councilor McCabe.
Nothing to report, sir.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Stanford.
Nothing to report at this time.
Councilor Sheffield.
I'd like to bring up regarding the police department and fire regarding the COVID-19 vaccines. I was curious how the city was going about making sure our law enforcement and fire department and others within the city government are going to be receiving vaccines hopefully soon. Is that something that the city has organized, or is that something that has to be done on the outside as far as their...
Okay, let me address your comment this way. The police and the fire are working through the VAMS system to get appointments and to get the first and the second set of vaccines. We also have a list that we have developed so that when Legislative Health District is in the auditorium and it's at the end of the day and they find that they have extra vaccine because they've went into the vial and therefore the vial now has to be either used or disposed, that we'll call people at the end of the day and then the police officers can come in and get their vaccines.
Okay, good. So there's enough to... Yeah, is that enough to go around for our first responders for the city? Is that...
It is so far. They are either vaccinated or on a list to be vaccinated. Now, I did not make it mandatory that the city of Groton first responders be vaccinated. So there are some people that have opted out and have decided not to get vaccinated yet. I do think that once they see that their friends and colleagues have taken the vaccine and are unaffected by that, then I think we'll get more people that will opt in. But my understanding is we're over 50% on both police and fire, and we are continuing to get the vaccines.
Yeah, because that's certainly a concern based upon my day job at the state's attorney's office, where we had to ban law enforcement from entering our office due to COVID amongst law enforcement.
Sure.
So we haven't been able to allow them to enter, to drop off paperwork, and conduct other, investigative processes. So
Okay.
we hope that our first responders here in the city certainly heed and.
Okay,
get the
I can tell you that all first responders that want to be vaccinated have been vaccinated in the city of Groton. That's both fire and police.
Okay. All right.
Does that address your concern?
Yeah. Okay.
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 Anything else?
Yeah. Secondly, I failed to mention attending the Economic Development Commission and TIF Advisory Committee back on January 13th, chaired by Sierra Patrick. I forgot to mention that at the last mayor and council. And also, I guess we all received the email from Byron Neiman from the Highway Department regarding plastic recycling. And I had time to send out an email to him today and thanking him for his concern. And we hope to work together with our Group 1 to, hopefully have a plan for plastic reduction in the city.
Sure. That's something that I assume will be addressed in committee.
Mm-hmm.
And if need be, we can always invite Brian to come in. And that would be good because he does have experience. So he may be beneficial in that to provide additional information or testimony to that committee.
Okay.
Good. Thank you. Anything else?
No, I think that's all for me.
Okay. Thank you. Councilor Carter.
No.
Okay, it looks like you're muted. Okay, it looks like you're unmuted, but I don't hear you. Yeah, I can't hear you.
I don't have anything to report.
Oh, nothing to report. I do hear you now, though.
Oh, okay. All right.
To report. All right, Deputy Mayor Depot.
I think this would fall under here. I have a question. So, I saw a post today that there is a candidate for the Democratic primary. And my question related to this group is, how does that work if we were only planning to do the election in May? Budget-wise, how much does that cost, and how are we going to fit that in? How does it work? Because I've not seen a primary happen since I've been on the council, or go through the budget, or so I guess I'm wondering how that affects our budget.
Okay,
May I
thank
address
you.
that?
I was going to say, Kirkpatrick, can you address that? I think this is the first
Absolutely.
primary that I've seen in years, if at all. So if you could address that, yes, please.
Sure. In 22 years, I have never had a primary happen. So we've never budgeted for one. I have asked the registrars to send me an approximate budget expectation, and it's right around $10,000 or $11,000. And that's with minimal staffing. The only issue is we don't know whether or not we're going to need central counting for absentee ballots. It'll depend on what the number of ballots. If there are few ballots, they could actually count them in the polling places. But if we have a large number, they're going to have a central location with a staff separate that will have to count them. So, I talked with them and said that I want to keep the the costs as low as possible. I will not order more ballots than I feel are absolutely necessary. And this is all new territory for us, so we're going to do our
Typically,
best.
Go ahead. I
I'm
think
done.
typically we normally set aside $13,000 for elections. Is that, if I remember correctly?
That's correct, with the expectation that we would have to have staffing that could go above minimum staffing. And
Sure.
usually with an election, you expect to order more ballots. So
Okay.
I'm just going to keep my fingers crossed that we don't need more than what I'm looking at for minimal.
Okay. All right. Deputy Mayor Depot, did that answer your question?
Yeah, I just, yes, but my concern, I guess, is where is the extra money, where are we pulling that from, or how, just to make people aware and know, like, it doesn't just come out of thin air, the money for these things that we weren't expecting, just like every other budget when there's unexpected
Yep.
costs. I just
I
kind of
will look at, because this, right, because this comes under the mayor's budget, I will look under my budget to see if I have money that we did not spend this year that I can pull from. If not, I'll be talking to the finance director, Ron Uhas, to find a source to get the money so that we can conduct both the primary and the election. Ron, did you want to say anything?
Yeah, there's also, when we do prepare the budget, we do have a line item in non-departmental for contingency for such events that come about that were not budgeted, and that amount is $115,000. So that's kind of what that contingency budget line is for the unexpected things during the year. So that is a spot.
Okay, thank you, Ron. Deputy Mayor Depot, does that answer your question?
yes, I'm all set. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, so there's a couple things that I want to address. One is that I had talked about the position in Groton Utilities. Not true. Groton Utilities Commission, there was a vacancy when Paul Duarte resigned. And I was talking to Carlton Smith, and I've talked to Carlton, and he is withdrawing his name because of personal reasons. So we are still evaluating and looking for somebody to go on the Groton Utilities Commission. So we'll be doing that. And then the next thing that I want to report out is this is sad news, I think, for us as a city, but I have received a letter of resignation from Chief Spellman. And Chief Spellman will be leaving the city of Groton in the end of May. Somewhere around the 21st of May will be his last day. So, and during the committee of the whole, we will go into executive session, and I will discuss additional information as well as the path or the PATHS forward that we'll be addressing in order to get a new police chief. So, and I will be keeping the council involved and in touch with what we're doing. So that's all that I have. Are there any committee referrals? Okay, seeing none, we'll go on to new business. Councilor McCabe, R-21-2-10.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. R-21-2-10. Therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and council approve the appointment of Peter Burns III, 16 Pleasant Street, Groton, Connecticut, as a regular member of the Board of Ethics, term to expire on February 1st, 2025. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? We discussed this briefly at the committee of the whole and discussed Pete's qualifications. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Councilor Stanford.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Resolution R-21-2-11. Therefore be resolved that the mayor and council approve the request to name the gatehouse at Eastern Point Beach after Alfred Restivo. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We'll go into discussion. Is there any discussion from the council? Okay, hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Deputy Mayor Depot.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution R-21-2-12. Therefore be it resolved that the mayor and council approve the request to name baseball field number 3 at Washington Park after Roger Bidwell and the press box on baseball field number 3 after Fred Hahn. I so move.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. I'll open the floor for discussion. Deputy Mayor Depot,
Well,
your hands first.
Okay. I received a letter from a resident about this ordinance, and it was regarding basically what are our conventions to naming things. I kind of deferred to others that knew these two individuals well because I am not involved in this field so much, but getting the feedback from at least one person did make me think. And so I went back and looked at the notes, and I looked at the Beach and Parks Committee notes, and it doesn't look like we have a standard for what qualifies a person to, say, have a baseball field named after them, or so I'm just wondering, since it was only a week between when we got this at the COW and are voting on it now, if maybe we can push it to a future date to solicit people's input, and or maybe send it back to committee to see if we can like, because we have rules for the beach memorials, like what like how to apply for that and do that, but it doesn't seem like we have like a standard, like does the person have to be a resident or a taxpayer of the city, or how are we choosing that? And not that this isn't a good one, but I feel like we maybe should at least solicit more input, give people some time to put input, because I didn't just because of the timing of these meetings, because of the dates, because the COW was at the very end of the month, it wasn't a lot of time. And since I did it was only a week and I got one note about it, so I'm just want to make sure that we're not pushing it through too quickly to not get people's input. That's all.
Okay, Councilor Carter. You have the floor.
Hear me or no?
Yeah, you'll have to speak up, but yes, we got you.
Okay. So I know that they do the Beach and Parks Committee, they do that. It's included with the benches. Like when we do the benches and we somebody presents a name to rename a bench, I know that there's a criteria for that. So I'm assuming that falls under the same criteria. The other thing I would say is that I would say I disagree with Deputy Mayor Depot in the fact that with this, I think that the Beach and Parks Committee has already we've already spoke and the names were presented and it was passed on to us. So if we wanted to look at as far as the process, I think that that's something that we can do later. I think that the inevitable would just happen anyway. We would find that both these names, the park and the score or the press box will remain will be renamed anyway. So I think in honor of them, I think we should just proceed forward. That would be my request. I know personally that when my brother passed away, I remember they renamed the park after my brother, and they didn't have a formal way to do things or whatnot, so they just went with common sense, And I think in this case, we should just go with common sense. And if we need to revisit that in a later time, then we should go ahead and do that. That's what I would say.
Okay. Other counselors? One thing I do want to do, though, is I do want to make a referral to the Beach and Park, or excuse me, Parks and Rec, that we evaluate what our process is. Because when Mary first approached me and she said, hey, I think we can put this in under this because it says other things, I said, okay, I can make that make sense. But now that we have questions about it, I guess the question is, does a bench and a building have the same equalness to it? And we're about to go with maybe some paving stones and things like that. And should we give more, and the question is, should we give more deliberation or have a little more codification of what specifics need to be met, you know, similar to what we do with donations, right? When we do donations, when the council does donation, it's very clear, it's only for this, it's only this amount, it's only for these purposes, these are the ones that can only do it, those kind of things. I'm wondering if we need a little more specificity. So I am going to refer it back to committee for that. So I think that's important. So as far as where we are today with this resolution, there's a couple things that you guys could do. One, a motion could be made to defer this to a later date. And typically there would be a date, but I don't know if we have a date at this point, because we would want the Beach and Parks Committee to review this and the Parks and Rec Committee at the group level to review it, and I don't know how long that might take. And if it moved it out, even if it took a couple months to resolve this, I don't see that would necessarily be anything bad. But again, it's going to be up to council. So hold on, let me go first time hands. Councilor McCabe, you haven't spoken.
Yes, well, just seeing that we just voted to proceed with changing the name of the gatehouse at Eastern Point Beach. I mean, how is that so different than the renaming the press box and the field? I mean, I kind of equate them a little bit. I do agree that there should be some sort of criteria when we want to proceed with a naming. I think that's a pretty smart idea on it, and it gives people guidelines when we choose names. However, since this recommendation did come from Parks and Rec already, I would assume that they vetted vetted this request and proceeded to make a recommendation to us that perhaps we could proceed with this one and sort of grandfathered in and maybe proceed in the future to have Parks and Rec come up with their list of criteria. It was just a recommendation from me.
Okay, look, Councilor Carter, before I go to you, let me go to Deputy Mayor Depot, because she may have some additional information on this or additional comment. Deputy Mayor Depot.
Well, I just wanted to say, I don't think I disagree with Councilor Carter. I'm not even saying that this won't get approved, but two things. One, I think that I don't know how Beach and Parks would solicit input from anyone except the Beach and Parks Committee, which, you know, is the committee. But the other thing is and this is what I was kind of trying to say, like in the last meeting, I was thinking the same thing that Councilor McCabe said. Oh, well, the naming the gatehouse for Al Restivo, I was like, oh, similar, we're going to name the press box, great idea. But then after I received this email from a constituent who was saying that one of the people that we're going to name that's in the resolution was not a resident of Groton, was not a taxpayer in Groton. Granted, was a coach of the Avery Point baseball team and was on the field. Al Recibo volunteered at the beach for over 30 years and on the committee for over 30 years and is a resident and a taxpayer of Groton. So I feel like that is a little bit different. And that was the difference pointed out in the email. Again, I don't know that in the end it's going to be that different. I don't know that we're not going to prove it. I'm not saying that we shouldn't approve it. I'm not saying that at all. But what I'm saying is I got feedback from one person within a week of us seeing this. And I just think that it would be, we're supposed to represent the people. And I think we should give them a chance to send us feedback. Not everyone sees the Beach and Parks Committee or the minutes because it's a smaller meeting and all of those committees, people aren't always paying attention. But the COW and this meeting are publicized on TV. So there's a chance that more people are going to see it and have comments. And even if they don't, I don't see the harm in delaying it till maybe the second meeting in March, give the Beach and Parks Committee a chance to meet and just confirm their recommendation, which is fine. I'm sure that's what will happen. But give people a chance to give us feedback just so we can say, at least we offered the time for people to give feedback appropriate time. So in the future, they can't say, well, you just willy-nilly named this thing and now I don't like it. And as the mayor said, it's not baseball season and it's not the press box isn't even repaired yet. So I don't see any harm in delaying it. It's not going to probably delay the actual dedication of it or anything like that.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Carter, you have the floor.
Yeah, I think we should just make a motion, vote for it. I know that there's benches that we have that are from non-city residents. I don't think that, not being a taxpayer doesn't mean that a person didn't, I mean, you can be from anywhere, but be vested in the city of Groton, I think that, and I know that at least one case, it was made known that that this was possibly going to be happening, right? So I think with the passing of Fred Hahn, like recent passing of Fred Hahn, and what he did for our community, I think it's admirable for us to go ahead and move directly right now and pass this, and then those concerns we could. That's exactly why we're going to bring it to committee, and for this reason alone. I think that we had all this great stuff to say last week into an email arose, and I think that we need to hold true to what we said last week about Mr. Hahn and Mr. Bidwell. So I make a motion to move on what's been brought forward.
Okay, so any other counselors? Okay, so we have a motion on the floor we have a motion and a second for this resolution. Is that correct, Kirkpatrick?
Yes, we have a motion and a second, and I believe Councilor Carter asked us to move on the motion.
Okay. So with that, is there anyone else that wants to have discussion? With that, I will then take the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
I'm going to abstain.
I am too.
Councilor Depot and Councilor McCabe, Deputy Mayor Depot and Councilor McCabe have abstained.
And we have 3 in the affirmative, is that correct?
Yes.
Gentlemen, all 3?
We have 3, 0, and 2, and therefore the motion fails.
It does.
Based on the charter. The charter says that we must have 4 affirmative votes in order for a motion to pass. Okay? So we will move on and we will figure out how to address this in the future, in a future meeting. All right, Councilor Sheffield, you have resolution R-21-2-13, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution R-21-2-13. Therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and council grant a one-year extension of license and waive the security deposit to Groton Public Schools Food Services Department, 1300 Flanders Road, P.O. Box K, Groton, Connecticut, to operate a refreshment facility at Eastern Point Beach for the 2021 season. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We discussed this during the committee of the whole. Is there any further discussion?
Mayor, should 2021, should it be summer season or is season just okay? I wasn't sure if it needed to be specified.
No,
which season.
it's going to be the beach season
Okay,
for 2021.
okay.
Okay, I think this is similar to how previous resolutions have been written.
I have a question.
Yes.
I apologize.
Sorry, Deputy Mayor Depot, you have the floor.
I just want to make sure, because we want to approve the lower rate for them. I just want to make sure, because that's not listed here,
Yep.
just specifically
Lower rate
lower
is
that rate.
Lower rate is $1,100, not 15, but this is the security deposit that we waived, so this is separate.
Okay, I just want to make sure, because I don't want it to end up being confusing that we aren't raising, you know what I mean?
No, absolutely, I do. I understand what your concern is. Okay, we'll make sure that it's right. Is there any other discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Councilor Carter.
We're at 14.
Yes, sir.
R-21-12-14. Therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and council approve the fiscal year 2022 police department budget. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. I think the second was Deputy Mayor Depot. We discussed this during the committee of the whole. Is there any further discussion?
Yes, Mayor.
Councilor Sheffield?
Yes. When is the meeting between town council to discuss our budget? When is there a date set?
I am required to provide the budget for highway and for the police department by the end of this month. And then they will get back to us when our availability is and then when they will review the budget. And as soon as I know that for both the town council and RTM, I will communicate that with the council so that you can be involved.
Okay, that's all.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other discussion on this motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Councilor McCabe.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Resolution R-21-2-15. Therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and council approve the fiscal year 2022 highway department budget. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This was discussed during the committee of the whole. Is there any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Councilor Stanford.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Resolution R-21-2-16. Therefore, be resolved that the mayor and council authorize Groton Utilities Management to issue a purchase order to Woodward and Curran, 35 Broad Street, 1 Weebosset Hill, Floor 7, Providence, Rhode Island, in the amount not to exceed $36,000 and no cents for the scatter radio system upgrades at the wastewater treatment facility to be paid from the wastewater account available cash as a non-bunded capital expense. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We discussed this during the committee of the whole. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Deputy Mayor Depot.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution R-21-2-17. Therefore be it resolved that the mayor and council authorize Groton Utilities Management to approve the low lift pump station screening and manganese abatement project not to exceed $473,825.00, which includes a 10% contingency to be funded initially from water account available cash as a non-bonded capital project. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We discussed this during the committee of the whole. Is there any further discussion? Councilor
Yes.
Sheffield.
Yeah, I see the engineering cost, and it looks like we're going to be voting on a contractor regarding the engineering.
Correct.
Is there a contract for the construction cost of $265,000? Is there a contractor in place for that?
Yeah, I thought that was, did we already approve that? Ron, do you remember? Where is that? Is that later? Let me get past the bonds.
Yeah, no, I'm not 100% on this, but I feel that they're just doing the engineering to start it, and then that construction and those other costs are the project estimates.
Okay,
Is my assumption. I would think that they would have to wait to have it engineered before they would bid it.
okay, and that makes sense. They will not start construction without getting permission from the council. That'd be approved. Deputy Mayor Depot?
I was just going to add, I believe that is exactly what Director Gaudet said, that we need to approve the whole project, but that the engineering part also separately has to be approved so that that part can go first, and then they can do the other approvals.
Okay, good. Councilor Sheffield, is that address?
Yeah, it answers that part, but do we have somebody in mind for the construction piece as far as,
Well, I think what they'll do is once they get the engineering, then they'll either go out to bid, or if that falls under one of our preferred bidders, then they'll come forward with that. Director Gaudet will come forward with that.
and then the contingency is for the 43,000? That's
Well,
for-
the contingency is for, just like all contingency is, any unforeseen changes in scope or changes in costs due to all kinds of reasons. I mean, that's why they have the 10% contingency.
Okay.
Are there any other questions on this resolution? Okay, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Councilor Sheffield.
I'll tell you what.
R-21-2-18, therefore be it resolved that the mayor and council authorize Groton Utilities Management to issue a purchase order to Wright Pierce Westminster Square Building. Looks like 1 Doran Street, Suite 840, Providence, Rhode Island, for an amount not to exceed $145,750.00 as part of the low lift pump station screening capital project to be funded initially from the water account available cash. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This was discussed during the committee of the whole. Is there any further discussion?
Just one
Councilor
correction. Yeah,
Stanford.
the address is 10 Dorrance Street.
10 Dorrance. Yep, you're right.
Thank you, Councilor Stanford.
Okay, thank you. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Councilor Carter.
Sorry. R-21-2-19. Therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and council initially approve an ordinance approving revisions to the existing electric rate schedules for Bosra Light and Power Company to be effective for the electric service billed and on after April 1st, 2021, on and after April 1st, 2022, and on and after April 1st, 2023, and thereafter until revised as follows.
You can stop there, because the rest of it is the description of the rates depending on what category they are. So with therefore be resolved that you have right now, that's enough.
Okay, I so move.
Okay.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. We discussed this during the committee of the whole. There was a public hearing on this regarding rates. Is there any further discussion? Okay, hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, abstentions, motion carries. Councilor McCabe.
Resolution R-21-2-20. Therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and council initially approve an ordinance approving revisions to the existing electric rate schedules for the City of Groton, Department of Utilities, Electric Division, to be effective for electric service billed on and after April 1st, 2021, on and after April 1st, 2022, and on and after April 1st, 2023, and therefore until revised as listed in the minutes.
Yep, as listed in the rest. And again, this is a breakdown of the individual rates and the categories of the rates. So that's your motion. All we need is.
Oh, I so move.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We discussed this during the committee of the whole. Is there any additional discussion? Okay, hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions. Motion carries. Let's see, where am I? Councilor Stanford.
Resolution R-21-2-21. Therefore, be it resolved, Section 1, the sum of $600,000 is appropriated for the new project. Section 2, to meet said appropriation, $600,000 of unexpended bonds proceeds from the 2013 bonds, or so much therefore as shall be necessary for such purpose is hereby transferred to the new project. Section 3, this resolution shall take effect upon its approval at a duly warned and held special city meeting, a Freeman's meeting. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We discussed this on the committee of the whole. These are the projects that we had talked about repurposing bond money. Again, this is not new. This is not a new bond. It is an existing bond, and we are repurposing the money for these projects. Is there any further discussion? Deputy Mayor Depot.
I know it's only been a week since we had the cow, but have we figured out or had any input on how we're going to hold a Freeman's meeting during COVID?
We are still, so the short answer is no. We are trying to determine, do we want to try to do it outside? Do we want to do it as a ballot? Do we want to, we even talked about how could we do it as a Zoom meeting? That's even a little more complicated than you think. But we also talked about using the auditorium and spreading people out based on the size. And then we still need, we want to get the information out to people. We think that the information is there, but we need to make sure that people understand the projects and they don't just come out just to vote it down because of the amount of money that it might be for the utility. So the short answer is no. The long answer is no, but we're working on it. I do not have specifics, but Ron Uhas, Jill, and who else? I'm going to have somebody else on the team help me figure, probably Clerk Patrick, to help us figure how we're going to do this in the age of COVID. Deputy Mayor Depot.
Well, I was remembering about, I think all of these items, I don't know if it was all in the same meeting, but we got a presentation, I think, on all of the items, and it might be nice even if we released those online for people to watch and maybe split them into the different topics so they're not so long, because I imagine all of them in a row is going to be a long video. But we could maybe release those. I mean, they're on YouTube somewhere if you put in the date of when the demonstration was, but I think that's too hard for people to find.
I agree with you. We should probably have a separate tab under bonding on the city page, and then have all the different presentations there. That makes it easier for everybody. We will take a look at that.
Okay, thank you.
Did that address your?
Yeah, I mean, my concern is just I want to make sure that people have the adequate information and then feel able to give feedback and to come to the Freeman's meeting, you know, whatever that means, come to the meeting if we do a ballot or however we manage to do it. I just don't want it to be that we end up not getting any feedback because of COVID. I don't think that that's a good solution.
No, I agree with you. Okay, Councilor Sheffield, you had a comment?
Yes, my first comment was, and I think I asked this during the CAL, was do we have a breakdown for each of these projects to add up to the 600,000? Because that was the issue 5 years ago when we first had the bond for the Freeman, and we had to break it up because there were parts that the Freeman didn't accept as far as expenditures within the bond.
Yep.
So what are the denominations of each of the projects here to add up to 600,000?
Yeah, we will have the breakout of each project for what they are before we go to the Freeman's meeting, and have that advertised so that people know what they are.
Okay. And my next thing
several
was,
years ago, part of the reason it was voted down is there was misinformation that was put out, and
absolutely
said that it was a brand new bond and it was for $8 million and all kinds of things. And by the time people got here, they were already mad and ready to vote something down, and so there was no getting them back. But we will try to learn from that and make sure that the information's out there and broken out.
Now, my next comment would be, could we infuse a Zoom public hearing prior to the Freeman's meeting to where you get that feedback from the constituents, to where you get that input, if there could be a Zoom setup hearing, a public hearing prior to having the actual vote, because then if you get their feedback, if there are adjustments that need to be made prior to the vote, they could be made after the public hearing, and then we can pass the Freeman's meeting at the end, because obviously if it fails, we got to start over from scratch.
Right. We have talked internally about doing another meeting. I don't know if we'll call it a public hearing or what we'll do, but another presentation where the projects are broken out so that the projects can be discussed and the value of each of those projects could be discussed. Does that address your concerns, Councilor Sheffield?
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out, should we move forward with this now, or should we wait until more public feedback? Should we table this motion for a later date?
Well, this is the start of moving this. We're going to have one Freeman's meeting where we're going to vote on all these things. So we are not going to have that until we are 100% ready. So Deputy Mayor Depot.
I just wanted to say that I remember the presentation, and I'm pretty sure, like, I remember seeing on the page the numbers split out, that each person that did their presentations, and I probably have the paperwork somewhere because I don't ever throw anything away. But if we go back to that when that presentation was given and we get the slides, I'm pretty positive it has the breakdown of all the pricing for each project on there.
Okay. Is there any other discussion on this motion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Deputy Mayor Depot.
Resolution R-21-2-22. Therefore be it resolved that the mayor and council authorize the issuance of $4,995,000 bonds of the city to meet the appropriation of $4,995,000 for the Department of Utilities 2020 to 2021 wastewater bond fund program, and pending the issuance thereof, the making of temporary borrowings for such purpose. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This was discussed during the committee of the whole. Is there any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Councilor Sheffield.
We're on 24 because my
23.
internet's freezing up here.
Oh, okay. You should be at
We're on 24.
21-2-23.
Oh, 23. Okay.
Yes, sir.
R-21-2-23. Therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and council initially approve an ordinance appropriating $4,995,000 and no cents, I guess, and authorizing the expenditure by the Department of Utilities for the 2020-2021 wastewater bond fund program. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This is a continuation of the previous motion, and we discussed this during the committee of the whole. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Councilor Carter.
R-21-2-24. Therefore be resolved that the mayor and council authorize the issuance of $7,470,000 of a. Is this supposed to be say this or no? Authorize the issuance of $7,470,000 bonds of the.
Yes.
Okay, of the city to meet the appropriation of $7,470,000 for the Department of Utilities 2020 to 2021 water bond fund program, and pending the issuance thereof, the making of temporary borrowings for each purpose. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This was discussed during the committee of the whole. Is there any further discussion? Here, Councilor Sheffield.
Hi, Mayor. Yes, I'm trying to get defining temporary borrowings, I guess. What type of stuff are we talking about when we making temporary borrowings for a purpose? What does that entail, and is that specifically programs that are coming up, or?
Well, this is Finance Director Uhas. Can you?
Yep. What temporary borrowing means is that we can issue short-term bans or bond anticipation notes until we get to a point where we do permanently bond it. So that's what the temporary issuances are. Is there's just short-term notes.
And how long are those notes? What's the expiration or?
Those are typically 1 year. We did that in 2016
Okay.
when we did the wastewater treatment plant.
Okay.
And it helps assure that you don't draw down and permanently finance too much funds if you don't need them.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments on this resolution? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Counselor McCabe.
Resolution R-21-2-25. Therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and council initially approve an ordinance appropriating $7,470,000 and authorizing its expenditure by the Department of Utilities for the 2020-2021 Water Bond Program. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This is basically a continuation of the one above it. This was discussed during the CAL. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Counselor Stanford.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Resolution R-21-2-26. Therefore, be resolved that the mayor and council authorizing the issuance of $15,200,000 bonds of the city to meet the appropriation of $15,200,000 for the Department of Utilities 2020-2021 Electric Bond Fund and pending the issuance thereof, the making of temporary borrowing for such purpose. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This was discussed during the committee of the whole. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Deputy Mayor Depot.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution R-21-2-27. Therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and council initially approve an ordinance appropriating $15,200,000 and authorizing its expenditure by the Department of Utilities for the 2020 to 2021 Electric Bond Fund Program. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This is a continuation of the above motion. This was discussed during the committee of the whole. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Councilor Sheffield.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution R-21-2-28. Therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and council authorize the issuance of $4,250,000, no cents, bonds of the city to meet the appropriation of $4,250,000, no cents, for the Department of Utilities 2020-2021 Electric Bond Fund, and pending the issuance thereof, the making of temporary borrowings for such purpose. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This was discussed during the committee of the whole. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, abstentions. Councilor Carter.
R-21-2-29. Therefore, be resolved that the mayor and council initially approve the ordinance appropriating $4,250,000 and authorize its expenditure by the Department of Utilities for the 2020-2021 Electric Bond Fund Program. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This is a continuation. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, abstention, motion carries. And Councilor McCabe.
Resolution R-21-2-30. Therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and council approve the scheduling of a special city of Groton Freeman's meeting on Monday, March 1st, 2021 at 7 p.m. to appropriate funds for the various public improvements using unspent bond proceeds. Department of Utilities 2020-2021 Wastewater Bond Fund, 2020-2021 Water Bond Fund, 2020-2021 Electric Bond Fund, and 2020-2021 Electric Bond Fund, Basra Light and Power, and pending the issuance thereof, the making of temporary borrowings for such purpose. I so move.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on this? Council, Deputy Mayor Depot.
I know we're setting the date for this for March 1st. I know that February is a very short month, so I hope that we're able to plan this quickly so that people have time to plan for whatever variation on a Freeman's meeting that we do. I just want to put that in there.
I understand. We will meet this week and then we will get some information out to the council so that we can, so that the council is assured that we're going in the right direction. I understand your trepidation and we have not done this before, not had to. And so therefore you want to make sure that we do it right. I get it. You know, I have a couple notes. How are we going to do this? How do we let people know in advance all the projects, those kind of things to get that out there? And then whether or not we need to have additional presentations at the CAL. So at the committee of the whole, rather. Deputy Mayor Depot.
And I just want to add that if people have comments on this, the items that are at the Freeman's meeting, they do not have to wait for us to put more information out. If they have questions, feel free to email them now. And
right.
So that we can get them answered before the meeting. I know that, you know, not every resident watches the meetings, but for anyone that does, if you have questions about the bond fund, please feel free to email us.
You can email the council, you can email the mayor, you can email Finance Director Uhas with your questions, and we will get your questions answered. We want people to feel comfortable when they're voting on the money. One thing that I do want to make sure people understand is that, for example, when the city bonds, there's a ratio that we can't exceed. When the utility bonds, there is no ratio. So the only stipulation is for wastewater. The way that the Connecticut general statutes are written, when it talks about the WPCA Wastewater Pollution Control Authority, that bonds for wastewater goes against the debt ratio for the municipality. So there is a ratio there, which is for wastewater, and a ratio that goes to all the bonding for city municipal projects. Okay. Deputy Mayor Depot.
Can I say, I'm sorry, one more thing I forgot. While we're talking, I did look back at last week's packet, and we had this thing that was in there that's number 550, and it does have the breakdown of so Councilor Sheffield was looking for this. It's in the packet from last week. The first page of this 550 municipal bonding one shows the breakdown of all the projects.
I know the breakdown of the money.
Yep.
Of each project?
Yep.
All right, but we'll need to see that on the Freeman's meeting on the Freeman document.
I just meant if you wanted to see it, we do have it in our packet from last week.
We will list the breakdown of the projects for the Freeman's meeting, but the Freeman's meeting is not going to be a menu where you vote on this one or this one or this one or that one. You're voting for all 5 or 6, whatever they are, for the repurposing of the bond. That's all in one vote.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I knew that part, but just the breakdown of what's being spent per project.
Okay.
That's what you need to see.
Yeah, we'll absolutely do that.
And secondly, on this bond here, is there going to be a total dollar figure with the 4 bonds? is there going to be a dollar figure itself to be seen, similar to saying $600,000 for the, because
Well,
I don't see the dollar figure on this resolution as to
Well-
total amount of the bond.
Well, okay, so for example, the various public improvement using unspent bond proceeds, that's 600,000, right? And then for the next one, the wastewater bond fund, we had the amount. And then the same thing for the water bond fund, we had the amount. And then the electric bond fund, we had the amount. So we will break those out so people know what they're voting on and the amount that they're voting on.
Yeah, I want to make sure that for the Freeman, there's a total tabulation of the dollar amount.
Well, I don't know if I'll put a total tabulation dollar amount because I don't know that that's important. What's important is the individual amounts of each of the bonds, right?
Yep.
That's
I mean, I get that part, and if obviously from our perspective, we understand it, but will the Freeman wish to have more and have a physical total scene of what's being spent for the total, of the total
okay.
project, I guess, for the Freeman to vote on?
But they're not voting on the total project. They're voting on,
Well, the total bond amount, I should say.
okay, I understand your point.
We got 4 different bond fundings, but are we going to tabulate it all together for one vote, or are there going to be 4 separate votes?
No, you're going to have a vote for unspent bond proceeds. You're going to have a vote for wastewater bond fund. You're going to have a vote for water bond fund, a vote for electric bond fund, and a vote for electric bond fund, Bosworth Light and Power.
Okay.
So
good.
you will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 votes, 5 separate votes, each with individual amounts
Yep.
that you're voting for.
Okay, good. Okay.
Does that,
Yep, that clarifies that.
okay?
Okay.
All right, is there any other discussion on this? Deputy Mayor Depot, I saw a hand, maybe? No? Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, abstention, motion carries. We do not have an executive session tonight. I will take a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, abstentions, motion carries. Council, thank you all for being here. Ron Uhas, thank you. Kirkpatrick, thank you very much for what you're doing.